hours of August 13, 1961, East German construction workers, flanked by soldiers and police, began tearing up streets and erecting barriers throughout the city of Berlin and its surroundings. The night marked the beginning of one of the history's most infamous dividing lines, the Berlin Wall. Construction on the wall continued for the next decade as it cut through neighborhoods, separated families, and divided not just Germany but the world. To understand how we got to this point, we have to go back to World War II. In World War II, America, Britain, and France allied with the Soviet Union against Axis powers. After they defeated Nazi Germany, each of the victorious nations occupied a portion of the country. The split was supposed to be temporary, but the former allies disagreed over their vision for post-war Europe. The origins of the Berlin Wall occur during the occupation of Germany by allies during this division. In 1949, two new Germanies were officially established. Socialist East Germany was ravaged by poverty and racked by labor strikes in response to its new political and economic system. Therefore, its people started fleeing to West Germany. Brain drain and labor shortages led the GDR to close its border with West Germany in 1952. At one point, 1,700 people a day sought refuge status by crossing from East to West Berlin, and about 3 million GDR citizens went to West Germany via West Berlin between 1949 and 1961. That made it very difficult for people to cross over from communist to free Europe. In the wee hours of August 13, 1961, as Berliners slept, the GDR began building fences and barriers to seal off entry points from East Berlin into the western part of the city. The overnight move stunned Germans on both sides of a new border. As GDR soldiers patrolled the demarcation line and laborers began constructing a concrete wall, diplomatic officials and militaries of both sides engaged in a series of tenses and standoffs. Eventually, East Germany erected 27 miles of concrete wall throughout the city. The wall was two parallel walls punctuated with guard towers and separated by the death strip, which included guard dog runs, landmines, barbed wire, and various obstacles designed to prevent escape. East German soldiers monitored the barriers 24/7, conducted surveillance on West Berlin, and had shoot-to-kill orders should they spot an escapee. Over the years, the wall became a grim symbol of the Cold War. By 1989, many East Germans had enough. They staged a series of mass demonstrations demanding democracy. Meanwhile, the Soviet bloc was destabilized by economic wars and political reforms. Although the Eastern regime gradually allowed family visits, it tried to discourage people from exercising these rights with an arduous bureaucratic process and high fees. Nonetheless, it was still overwhelmed by applications. By the end of the 1980s, the liberalization of other Eastern Bloc regimes caused mass demonstrations for free travel and demands for democracy. On the evening of November 9, 1989, East Germany tried to diffuse tension by making travel permits easier to obtain. But the announcement brought thousands of East Berliners to the border, crossing the points in the wall, forcing the surprise guards to open the gates immediately. Rejoicing crowds poured into West Berlin as people from both sides danced atop of the wall, and others began to demolish it with whatever tools they could find. Although the border guards initially tried to maintain order, it was soon clear that the years of division were at an end. After 4 decades, Germany was officially reunited in October 1990, and the Soviet Union fell soon. The ugly symbol of the Cold War was built to keep East Germans from escaping to the West. A decades-long fight to flee brought it down. Today, the fall of the Berlin Wall is seen as a symbol of the end of the Cold War. 35 years after this fall, the Berlin Wall is still the landmark most visitors look for when they come to Berlin. Most of the barriers has been erased from the urban landscape, but a few remaining sites pay tribute to its existence. The part of the wall are the perfect example of how we can also break down any barriers we put up to impede freedom.